We are live. All right. I will see attendees real quick who all are here. Nobody's here. Nobody is here. Oh, I see one, which is Jason Tanner. All right. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining. All right. There he is.
There he is. Hi, Toby.
There you go. You're mute. You're on mute.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
got it
Good to see
covered.
you, Linda.
Hi, Toby.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
All
Is-
right, so we are running ahead of time. We still have 5 minutes to start our session. We will wait for people to join. Right now, as it sits, we have 14 attendees and we have 6 panelists right here. And I will just go and hide in the shadows, which I always do. Just in case if there is something, I will come out of the hidings and I will fix the problem and I'll go back again. All right.
Linda, so excited to have you join us. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. Has it been a good conference so far?
So far, it's been wonderful, and you're coming in to
Awesome.
everybody before you has teed things up. So
Awesome.
you're ready to hit it out of the park. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to this one. Uh, Thank you so much for joining. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here. It's a cold and overcast, not very pleasant day in Nashville, Tennessee.
We've got freezing rain, and I'm worried about my sidewalks because they're now covered in ice, and it's
Yes.
26 degrees. So
Yes.
I feel your pain.
Yes. We go for a long walk every day in our community. We have walking trails that go on for miles. So we walk about 3 miles and it was icy. The paths were icy. There are a couple of little bridges and they were covered in ice. So we were hanging on to the edge, hoping to make it back in time. And yeah, it was in the upper 20s, so 29 degrees.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds like you live in a beautiful community. Now,
I
do
do.
you have dogs?
No, we don't have any dogs, but there are lots of wild animals here. We have foxes and wild turkeys and deer and peregrine falcons and Cooper's hawks and
Oh, wow.
buzzards. We have buzzards.
Yep. 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 We have
It's like
buzzards.
fun.
We have buzzards in our neighborhood, and we have lots of deer, a couple of
Yes.
foxes.
Yes.
Foxes, when they are getting randy in the springtime, make a very unique sound.
Oh, do they?
It's
I didn't know that.
it sounds like a screeching baby. It is just a really goofy sound. It's
Wow.
yeah.
Because I know they hang out in our neighborhoods even because there are lots of kind of wild areas in between the homes and you'll see foxes in there, but I've never heard that sound. I'm going to listen for that in the spring.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
If you hear it, you may have heard it and thought it was somebody putting a cat in a blender or something because the sound is just really freaky.
All right. Wow.
I'll see if I can find the clip and send it to you.
Okay. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I know we did have wild turkeys, and even they were wandering around at Thanksgiving. And I tried to tell them this is not a good thing. You should go somewhere else. But wild turkeys are pretty smart. They're a lot smarter than domesticated turkeys, and they're not very well. They're not good to eat. They're really wild, gamey tasting birds, and they don't stick around long enough so that they have to worry, I think.
Okay, well that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever eaten wild turkey.
Ah,
I did drink wild turkey, the
Yeah,
bourbon.
that's what I
ah,
think. That's what I think of wild turkey.
well, there was a time in my life a long time ago when I was much younger, when I did a lot of hunting.
Oh,
I thought you were going to say when you did a lot of drinking, but okay.
No, I did a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing. So I have eaten squirrels and rabbits and quail and some pretty rough fish like carp and
Okay.
bluegill. What we caught and what we killed, we ate.
Love that. You should.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. That was a long time ago.
Okay. We had some neighbors, so I've had squirrel and I've had quail. I've also eaten bear,
Ah,
um, which was I don't understand. I don't understand why anybody would want to eat that, but
okay.
All right. So it's 101. Looks like it's time for us to kick this off. We still have people joining. We have 42 attendees right now, and welcome to everybody. Thanks for joining. This is the session. This is the keynote two for today's conference. Right now, as you have already heard of the beautiful conversation so far, we have Linda Rising with us. As you already know, she's coming from Nashville, Tennessee. Um, well, she's very famous. She has authored 4 books, as we already know. Um, she's an independent consultant, and she's coming here to talk to us about the power of agile mindset. Now, with that, Linda, take it away.
may we ask about your most recent award, Linda?
Ah, yes. I can mention 2 awards actually that I was fortunate enough to receive at the end of the year. One was from the World Agility Forum, a lifetime agility award. And at the PLOP conference a month after that, I was given the Hillside Fellowship Award along with John Vlasides. I don't know if you know who John is, but he was one of the Gang of Four, one of the 4 authors of the Design Patterns book. And he died several years ago of a brain tumor. It was a devastating loss for the object-oriented and patterns community, and that the 2 of us were given that award together was more of an honor than you can possibly imagine. So I'm so grateful to still be
Awesome.
here and to have
Thank you.
Awesome.
received that.
I'm so sorry. I forgot to mention this, and Linda asked me to mention this. She is happy that she received the very first vaccine for coronavirus, and she is very eagerly waiting for the second one. And she and her husband, they both got the vaccine. So we are
Yes.
so happy for that, and thank you so much for sharing that information with us, Linda.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. You know what that means in Tennessee, if you've had the vaccine now, is that you are officially old. So they're giving it to older people first because we are the most at-risk population, and that's true for my community. We have had lots of people who have had infections and many deaths. So I feel lucky. I feel very lucky. So this is a talk about mindset. That is what you believe, how you see the world, what you think. It's also a talk about science. It's a talk about experiments. And if you think it's an interesting talk and you would like to share it, maybe not just with your team, but also with your family. I know many of you are sharing a small space with your children. This presentation talks about children, and how you want to encourage the proper mindset in your children. So on the first slide, you've got my contact information. Please send me some email. If you'd like to have the PowerPoint, there is no copyright on any of these slides. I'm happy to share it with you, and then it's yours. You can do whatever you want. And if you have questions, we will have time for questions, but if you think of something in the next few days, please send me some email. I'm happy to talk about this or any of the other topics that you might be interested in. And then finally, let's connect on LinkedIn. So we're going to start with a question. If I could see you, I would say, please don't answer this. Just think about it. So where do you stand in the answer to this question? Do you agree mostly or disagree? Question number one, intelligence is something very basic. You really can't change that. It's fixed. You're born with a certain, well, we could even measure it and we would call it IQ. You have an IQ as a result of being born with that intelligence. And of course, you can learn. You learn new things all the time, but your intelligence is basic. Your intelligence is fixed, and you can't change it. So that's one way of looking at the world. It's the fixed mindset. The second way, well, of course, we know people have different levels of intelligence. We can even measure that. But no matter how intelligent you are, you can always get better. Sometimes you can improve a lot if you work hard. Now, we've used intelligence as an example, but this applies to any talent or ability, whether it's playing a musical instrument, involved in a sport, learning a new programming language, whatever it is that you want to do. Do you believe that you have it or you don't? That is, that talent or ability or intelligence is fixed? Or do you believe that, well, of course, we all cannot be Einstein or Beethoven, but we can all get better with practice, with determination? Which way do you find that you lean? And maybe what you notice about yourself is there are some areas where you believe more in the fixed mindset. There are other areas where you lean toward the growth or improvement, or I like to say agile mindset. Most of us have a mixed view as we look at the world. Start to notice how you feel about the different abilities that you see in yourself and also in others. So I'm going to talk about a set of experiments. This is a scientific result that I'm going to show with you, and it has to do with children. In this experiment, children were given an easy test. It was so easy that everyone did very well. All of the children who took the test did well on this so simple test. And after they took the test, the researchers somehow, and I'm not going to tell you exactly what they did until later, but somehow they were able to put these children into two categories. They did it randomly. They randomly put children either into a fixed or a growth mindset. Try to divide this group of children evenly, 50-50, randomized so they could continue with phase 2. And in phase 2, they said to all of the children, we're going to give you a choice now. You can either take a very difficult test. It's going to be hard, but you might learn by having this challenging experience. Or we're going to give you another easy test, just like the one you took in phase 1. Now, think about where we are. We have a group of children. They're all pretty much the same. They've just taken an easy test. They all did well. We know the researchers did something. We're not sure what, to divide these children into 2 groups. Whatever they did, they said, okay, this group of children will now be in the fixed group. This other group will be in the growth group, whatever they did. But not much has happened. So the very first time this experiment was performed, and it's been done over and over again with lots of different kinds of people. The very first time when it was done with children, the researchers were surprised at how different the 2 groups were when they asked this question. Do you want to take a hard test? Or do you want to take an easy test? Because the results showed that almost all those students who had been randomly categorized as growth, they all wanted the hard test. You see, if you hold the growth mindset, then you know that you can get better. If you're determined, if you work hard, you can get better. If you believe that, then you want that challenge. You want to take that hard test because you want to get better. Whereas those who had been randomly categorized into the fixed group, almost all of them said, no, I don't want to take that hard test. I want to take the easy test because if I take the easy test, I will do well. When you look at my test scores, you will then think that I'm smart, that I'm intelligent, that I have it. And this turns out to be a characteristic that defines the difference between those who have the fixed mindset and those who believe in growth. Those who hold the fixed mindset focus on looking good, and they will do whatever it takes to look good, including selecting only those tasks that are easy, avoiding those tasks that are difficult. They don't want challenge. They don't want to work. They just want to look good. Phase 3. Well, they gave them the difficult test anyway, so that's what psychologists do. They ask you, but then they already know what they're going to do. So they gave the difficult test. And they said, while you're taking this test, would you please, and we're going to record it, would you please talk out loud? Would you say what's going on in your mind while you're taking this very difficult test? And what they found was the students who had been randomly assigned to the growth group, well, they encouraged themselves. They said, wow, this is really hard. This is a difficult test, but if I take my time, let me slow down, let me make sure I understand the questions. If I have trouble, I'm sure I could ask the teacher for help. I want to do my best. We have a word in the Agile community for that. We say coach. They were coaching themselves. They were encouraging themselves even as they struggled. What about the other students, the one in the fixed category? They were taking the same difficult test. Yes, it was difficult. And what they said out loud was, whoa, this is really hard. I don't know whether I can really answer these questions or not. I don't think I can do it. Some of these questions are so hard. Well, they make me feel stupid. Maybe I am stupid. You know, we all have those little voices in our heads. I don't know where they come from. Maybe our parents, maybe teachers that we had early in grade school, maybe a grandmother or an aunt or uncle, a friend, somebody who told us what we could do or what we couldn't do, what talent we had, what abilities we have. And we play those voices over and over, and they either encourage us or limit us, depending upon the message and how well we pay attention to it. We all have those voices in our heads. The one I have is from my father. No matter what I did in school, he would always say, "Is this the best you can do? Is this the best you can do?" And you know what we tell our children now, of course, is, "Oh, you are the best. You can do anything." Now, when I was a child, I hated that message. I would have loved to hear my father say, "Oh, you're the best. You're the smartest." But he never did. And now that I know about this research and I see what happens to children when they are told, "Oh, you're the best," and if that's the voice they have in their heads, it makes a difference in how they perform. So today I'm grateful for my father. I wish he were around so I could tell him. Phase 4. You've just taken this difficult exam. We're going to give you another choice. What would you like to do? You can look at the exams of those children who did better than you. Or you can look at the exams of those who did not do as well as you, the ones who did worse. Would there be a difference? What do you suppose the response was? Almost all the students in the growth category said, "I want to see those exams of students who did better because that will help me learn. If they did better than I did, then they will have answered questions that I couldn't, and now I will be able to learn from that. That will help me grow." Those who were in the fixed group said, "No, I would rather see the exams of those who did worse." Why would they do that? Because if they see exams of students who did worse, it will make them look better. I'll feel better. I will compare my exams to those who did worse, and I will say, I'm better than they are. It will make me look good. Another characteristic of those who hold the fixed mindset, since we know that our talents or abilities are fixed, if we find others who aren't as good, then it will make us look better. It will make us look like we have it. We're the smart ones. We're the talented ones. Phase 5. The researchers said, "Oh, we're going to give you another easy test, almost like the one that you had in phase 1. And well, you all did well the first time around. I wonder what will happen this time." So the growth students who had been through this challenging test had struggled. They did better this time around. 30%, their scores improved by 30% on average. That's quite a jump, considering they all did well the first time. Those in the fixed group, they actually got worse. Going through the challenge, seeing the difficulties, they sort of made themselves less intelligent, less able to do well. Because they got the message, oh, you can't do this difficult test. You must not be very smart. Another reason why those in the fixed group avoid challenge. They don't want any message that tells them they're not the best. They're not the smartest. Finally, in phase 6, they said, we're going to do this experiment again. We will involve other children or other people. We'd like you to write a letter to those students in the future. Tell them about your experience. Maybe give them some advice. And if you want to, you could share your test scores. You could tell them how well you did. They saw the growth students wrote letters that were a lot like the kinds of advice they gave to themselves. They said, you're going to take a difficult test, but that's okay. Just take your time. Do the best you can. If you have trouble, ask the teacher. Maybe she can explain anything you don't understand in the question. You want to do the best you can. Lots of advice and encouragement. Coaching the students of the future. Those fixed students, on the other hand, said, oh, you're going to take a difficult test. Well, that's just the way it is. You're probably not going to do very well. It's a hard test, after all. And those who reported their scores on the tests inflated them. Nearly half of the students in the fixed group lied about their scores. Now, you might question that result, saying, well, how could so many of those students, and many of these were younger students, lie about their scores? I'm not sure they all did it consciously. They could say, well, I don't remember exactly. I think maybe my score was around 75. Maybe it was really 60, but they consciously or unconsciously wanted to make themselves look good. Those who hold the fixed mindset will consciously or unconsciously move in a direction to make their performance better. This is all research from the work of Carol Dweck, who is at Stanford University. The book is called Mindset, and it is all about research. And I know sometimes that doesn't appeal to everyone. So I'm going to point to a series of articles. If you can't find these, just send me some email and I'll be happy to send them to you. If you have children, please read the second article. It's from New York Magazine by Poe Bronson. It's called How Not to Talk to Your Kids. So if you're a parent, especially in these challenging times, please read that article. And again, if you can't find it, I'll be happy to send it to you. This is a summary of what Carol Dweck's research shows about the difference between these two mindsets. And I'm going to start using, because I think it applies and it's what drew me to this research anyway, I'm going to use Agile. Fixed or Agile. Those who hold the fixed mindset believe that all our abilities, including intelligence, are fixed. They are fixed at birth. They're determined by genetics, perhaps initially by environment, but you can't change them. It's like height. We know height is determined by genetics, but also environment. Those who are malnourished do not grow. but you have no control over that other than making sure that everyone is nourished. You can't get taller by practicing. Those who hold the agile mindset, on the other hand, believe it's more like a muscle, because we know that you can improve your muscle tone by exercise. It can grow. So those who hold the agile mindset believe that is true for all our abilities. You know, when I was 30, the research showed that I was on a downhill path. When you are 30, you begin to lose muscle tone, bone density, IQ. And there's really nothing you can do about it. The news was bad. Now, however, research shows very clearly that that is not true. Yes, you do begin that downhill trajectory around 30, but if you work hard to maintain bone and muscle by exercise, if you keep your mind and brain active, that you can grow bone, you can grow muscle, you can improve neuronal connections in your brain until you die. It's a lifelong process of improvement. The goal for those who are fixed is to look good. If you look good, then everyone will think you have it. The goal for those of us who are agile is to get better, to learn. And to do that, we embrace challenge. Whereas those with a fixed mindset, they avoid it, just like those children who didn't want to take the hard exam. Failure is something that, well, for someone with a fixed mindset, it says you are a failure. Whereas those of us who are agile say, well, failure just tells me that I need to work harder here. I need to focus on this particular area. I'm not doing as well. And to do that, we need effort, practice, determination. That's how we get better. Whereas for those with a fixed mindset, if they say, I have to work hard or I need to practice, well, that must mean I don't have it. It's a sign that I'm not as talented as someone who doesn't have to work hard or practice. And then finally, there are always going to be challenges, even if you don't want them, even if you work hard to avoid them. And when you face those challenges, if you give up, the psychologists have a term for that. It's called helplessness. The feeling like, I can't do anything. There's no way around this. I think we're seeing a lot of that now. Our reaction to the pandemic is bringing out the different mindsets. Those who are giving up, those who feel they can't do anything. Whereas those who are agile are saying, sure, there are things I can't do now, but what can I do? How can I get better? And that's called resilience, a characteristic of the agile mindset. Now, this may seem remote, but the connection with Carol Dweck's research also brought home something that I have faced for decades. I don't know how many workshops, how many panels, how many interviews people have said, Linda, what has kept you going? You are a woman in a field dominated by men. Most women, even if they start out in science or math, they don't stay. What has kept you going? I didn't really have an answer for that. until I saw the work of Carol Dweck. Carol Dweck's research answers two questions. One, why did I stay? And two, why do all those bright little girls leave? Where did they go? And the answer is in how we treat bright little girls. Bright little girls do very well in school initially. Teachers love them, parents love them, and they all tell them the same things. Oh, you are so smart. You are so talented. You can do anything. They do well in school when things are pretty easy. They're especially good at understanding what teachers want, what parents expect. So their progress is good in the beginning. And then when things begin to get difficult, middle school science, more difficult math, then those bright little girls who have heard all their lives, oh, you are so smart, oh, you are so talented, find that they have to struggle. And they don't know what to do, and they don't like it. So they leave it behind and say, oh, well, science and math must not be for me. I should go over here to something that's much easier where I don't have to worry about failing. And we lose all of that talent, all of that intelligence. Well, Linda, come on. Can there be that much of a difference? What about bright little boys? Does this look like any of the Agile projects you've been on lately? Yeah, bright little boys, they're always getting into trouble. They really don't do well in school initially. Oh, some maybe do, but they don't like to sit still. They don't like to focus. They don't really understand what teachers want or parents expect. So they're constantly hearing feedback like, sit still and pay attention. Why don't you listen to me when I'm talking to you? Look at this homework paper. It is a mess. You're going to have to do it over again. Why can't you be neater? Why can't you pay attention? Why can't you be more like your sister? Bright little boys struggle from the very beginning. They're not perfectionists. Everything is a challenge for them. So when the difficult stuff comes along, well, it's just more stuff. It's not at all different from what they've been doing up to that point. So they don't drop out. It's what they expect. Carol Dweck has done experiments with bright little girls and bright little boys, and she has found that the bright little girls, as a cohort, that means as a group for study, as a cohort, have the most fixed mindset on the planet. Bright little boys, on the other hand, as a cohort, had the most agile or growth mindset on the planet. Such a difference between bright little boys and bright little girls. We need to do something about that. Well, it's not just children. It's not just adults. It's organizations. Organizations have a mindset. This is one of the worst. I hope you're all old enough to remember the Enron scandal. This is a picture of Ken Lay. I think it was before they were ready to send him off to prison. Enron had a reputation. They hired the best. That was their motto. We identify and hire the best. Well, how can you do that? The people who hired last year, they were the best. Are they still the best? How do you compare the best last year with the best this year? Does that even make any sense? And their answer is, well, we continually compare. We compare people and we rank them, and then we fire the people at the bottom and we promote the people at the top. And we do that all the time. The process is called rank and yank. If you didn't have the fixed mindset when you went into Enron, after being in that culture a very short time, that's exactly what you developed. Comparing you against the others, your team against the others, your project against the others, your performance against the others. And we know from research that people who hold the fixed mindset want to look good, and they will do what it takes. If that means small distortions, large distortions, dysfunctions of various kinds, stealing, lying, sabotage. And that's exactly what happened. And a culture like that cannot exist for a long period of time. It will implode. And that's what happened to Enron. My favorite, and unfortunately a company I have not been able to support for a year now, is Southwest Airlines. It's been studied in so many business schools because it has an agile mindset. Its hiring process is so different from Enron's. They have something called the Southwest Spirit, and it has to do with learning. Everyone who works for Southwest knows that they're encouraged to learn and grow. It's about the attitude they have, not whether they have some fixed intelligence, talent, or ability. They want their employees to grow and learn, and they encourage them to take all the opportunities they need to do that. It's one of the most agile companies on the planet. We know managers have a mindset. I've never been a manager, but when I began to read the research, I was very disturbed because one of the things that I learned was that managers make up their minds pretty early on, even before they know you. They've already decided whether you have it or you don't. Very fixed mindset. And of course, once they've made up their minds, that's how they treat you. They treat you well if they think you have it. On the other hand, if they don't think you have it, then that's not what they're going to see, no matter how good you are. I asked a friend of mine who is a manager, and I said, is this research true? Do managers really make up their minds so quickly, even without evidence? And my friend, the manager, said, well, Linda, I guess, yeah, maybe we do that, but let me tell you one thing. We are always right. Of course they are. Of course they are. These two papers address that phenomenon that managers can create the reality they expect because they have power. They have the power to do so. If you can't find those papers, again, I'll be happy to send them to you. And if you are a manager, or if you're thinking about being a manager, you should read them. They are classics. So let's have some good news. And the good news is your mindset. And I hope you've been thinking about that. What's your own feeling about this? I'm guessing that you have some areas where you are fixed somewhere you are agile. What we know from research is that you can change those. And sometimes it doesn't take a lot of effort. Just knowing about it, just having heard this presentation will cause you to shift your mindset. We know we encourage this in others, especially in our children. Even small things can have a huge impact. If you'll remember the experiments that we just talked about, and I told you in the very beginning, after the easy test, that the researchers characterized the children as being in two groups, either the fixed or the growth. And I didn't tell you how they did that. So now I'm going to make good on my promise. Here's what happened. In phase 1, all the children were given an easy test. They all did well. The researchers randomly assigned children to one group or another. It was totally random. To those children randomly assigned to the fixed group, they said the following. Here's your test. You did very well. You must be smart. To those children randomly assigned to the growth group, they said the following. Here's your test. You did very well. You must have worked hard. And that's it. That's all they said. And if you'll remember the statistically significant differences in those two groups after such a small manipulation. So we need to think carefully about what we tell each other, and especially what we tell our children, because we are creating fixed or growth mindsets in those people. So talk about effort, how hard people work. You must have worked hard. Oh, you came up with a solution for that problem. How did you do that? Oh, I see you've been practicing your piano. How often do you do that? What do you do during your practice? Are you working on scales? Are you working on some difficult piece of music? Talk about the work. Don't ignore failure, but cast it as a way to provide feedback. This is how we learn, by failing. And never, never, ever label your children or any of your colleagues as smart, talented, artistic, musical, and especially never say to your children, oh, you're the artistic one, your sister is the one who's the scientist. Those labels lead others into a fixed mindset, and we know now all of the downsides. All right, we're not all equally talented. Start using what Carol Dweck recommends, not yet. Oh, we can't do this yet. I'm not very good at this, not yet. The first time I gave this talk, I got this universal feedback. Linda, we need some more suggestions. Help us. What can we say to all of the people in our lives? And so you're going to ask for this presentation. I'm not going to read this to you. Here are some things, some concrete suggestions. What can you say to your kids? We all have someone in our lives, a partner, a spouse, a colleague. What can you say to those others, those other adults? What can you say to yourself? We sometimes get stuck and we need a voice in our heads that will help us move forward. What can we say? I wanted to find that connection with Agile development. So I scraped a lot of websites and I found a lot. We say in Agile, fail early, fail often, fail fast, learn constantly. Failure is an option. Without failure, how can learning happen? Kent Beck, a long time ago, said, perfect is a verb. Perfect means getting better. Perfect means perfect. That's not what we want. We want to get better. We're not about being perfect. Richard Sheridan, who's the CEO and co-founder of one of my favorite Agile companies, Menlo Innovations, says, make mistakes faster. Spotify's founder, Daniel Ek, says, we aim to make mistakes faster than anyone else. Agile is all about the Agile mindset. We are all a work in progress. In fact, I remember hearing someone say, if you're doing Agile the way you did it a year ago, then you're not doing Agile. It's about growth. It's about learning. It's about paying attention to what you don't do so well, getting feedback from that and improving. Let me close with one of my favorite poems from an Irish poet, Samuel Beckett. Ever tried, ever failed, no matter. Try again. Fail again. Fail better. I know you spend so much time on Zoom meetings. I am so appreciative that you thought it was worthwhile to spend an hour with me. That makes me very happy. I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for including me in this awesome event. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and maybe I can see some of you, and maybe there will be questions. We shall see. So there we go. All right. Are there any questions?
Right. So just checking, Meenakshi, Toby, if you guys want to take questions, or I can take it. Totally up to you. Let me know.
Nash, you can go ahead with the questions. I'll scan the chat.
Oh, okay. All right. So in here, I do see two questions, Linda. One question here is, what's the most powerful question a coach can ask a team member?
I don't.
Go for it.
Okay. So that's a question I've never been asked before. So that makes me think, and that's awesome. But if your team already knows about the Agile mindset and the fixed mindset, the most powerful question you can ask anybody is, what mindset do you want to hold? Do you want to be Agile? Is that your goal? And then that's a point of departure. Because so many times when teams aren't doing well, or these days when we're all struggling, then we all retreat into the fixed mindset and helplessness. Oh, we can't do it. This is impossible. We don't have it. We're not smart enough. We're not talented enough. And simply a reminder that, what mindset do you want to hold? Especially for children, if they're struggling. Oh, I can't do it. What mindset do you want to hold? Do you want to be Agile? And usually we say, yes, we do. Yes, we do. So let's say we're having problems now. We haven't gotten this solved yet, but we are learning. We want to be Agile.
Nice. Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much. The other question right here got two words. It says, how do you help those conditioned with with a fixed mindset?
So, so this is also in the slides, and it comes from a good heart. So when I say this, I don't want you to feel that this is a bad thing that we do. It's a naturally loving thing that we do. So when someone is stuck and someone is discouraged and say, I can't do it, I don't have the talent, or I'm not smart enough, what we do out of love is to argue with them. And we say, oh no, you are smart. You are intelligent. You are good enough to do this job. We argue with them. And in that arguing, we are labeling them, and we are forcing them back into that fixed mindset. So that is the worst thing to say, even though we do it because we care about this other person. The better thing to do is to ask them, you know, I remember a time when you were stuck, when you had a problem that you've struggled with. Do you remember that problem? I don't know what it would be, but you would have to talk about it. You were able to figure that out, weren't you? What did you do? What techniques did you apply? What strategies did you do to get out of that difficulty? Do you remember that? And ask them to recall a time when they were able to have success, when they were able to solve a problem, when they were able to do something difficult that they feel they can't do now. Let's go back and remember that. What techniques did you use? How did you approach that? Ask them to tell you that story.
Hmm, awesome. Thank you. Next question in here is, which got four words. How do you suggest managing up for a boss who doesn't follow this method?
Yeah, I would say go work for another boss. You know, a lot of people don't know about this research. A lot of people haven't read the scientific evidence that shows there are better ways to manage people. There are better ways to work in teams. There's evidence now. And we know that people who are in a managerial position or high-level executives even, they all want to be better. So if you give them just a little bit of a hint to say, you know, I went to this awesome conference just recently, and I heard an interesting talk about mindset. And the person who was presenting sent me a paper that was published in Harvard Business Review, which has big impact with managers, by the way. I wonder, would you like to read it? I printed it out. I can give it to you, or I have a PDF. I can email it to you. Would you like to read it? It was really interesting because sometimes those managers are behaving inappropriately because they don't know. No one has ever told them. They haven't had time to keep up and read the research. So if you don't give them lots and lots of information, just give them one thing and say, I thought this was interesting. Don't say, you are wrong about the way you handle our team, and this will help straighten you out. You say, I just thought it was interesting, and I wondered maybe you would like to read it. Maybe you've probably already read it, but I thought of you, and I'll be happy to send it to you. If this manager cares, and my experience is most managers do, they care. Most managers want to be better. If you offer just a small thing, it'll help them and they will appreciate it.
Great, thank you. If I just go through real quick these questions, there are questions about whether the presentation is being recorded or not. Yes, that presentation is being recorded and will be shared. How do we get the papers? I'm assuming the question is about the presentation slides. If that's the question, then Linda, maybe I can ask you. Will you be sharing the slides with us so we can send it to everybody, or is there
Yes,
any preferred means you have?
they can, I'm happy to share it with you. I'm happy to share it with anyone. If you just send me some email, I will send you the PowerPoint. There are no copyrights on any of the slides so that you can take the PowerPoint, do whatever you want. I've had many people show this PowerPoint presentation to their families. So yes, the slides, yes, the papers, just send me some email, linda@lindarising.org, O-R-G, and I'll be happy to send you it. Yes.
All right, awesome. Thank you,
Thank
Linda.
you.
You wanna close, Toby, or there's one more question quickly? We can go over
I know,
that. We have 7.
I just want to remind everybody that all of the papers, all the recordings will all be accessible from a20dmv.org. Just give us a couple of days, we'll get
Nice.
things up there. And
Awesome,
they'll be there for a
awesome.
long
Thank you,
time.
Steve.
yeah. Yeah, so
Awesome.
since there are no questions, we can close slightly early and get a little more break. There's no problem with that. So thank you so much, Linda, for taking the time and such a wonderful keynote, for sharing those wonderful questions and um, everything that you have, so much insight. And I used to wonder, a lot of times where parents, they encourage their kids, but by saying those things, or they're actually damaging them. And by you sharing, that research actually proved my thought process that it was true. I mean, when they go into the real world, it's going to be very challenging. Um,
Yes.
so much insight, so much research. Thank you so much, Linda. We enjoyed it. And everyone, we have lots of great stuff happening the rest of the afternoon. 15 minutes break, and then we have 3 more sessions coming up. Don't forget the raffle this afternoon. You have to be present to win it. We also have the fishbowl, estimation fishbowl happening towards the end, and the social hour. In between, during your breaks, please don't forget to go to the community section. Look at all the activities that are going on. Connect with people. If you see people that say hi and connect. All this is going to be available for 1 more year on the HUA site. So again, go forth, connect with people, make new friends, and be agile. Thank you.
Right. Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.